Hello, welcome to Exotic Ghana UK, Yorkshire Kris Weekly on this very wet and cold November day. But the garden is brightened up by the fact that it's not been frosty yet and we've still got lots of foliage plants that are still looking good. And probably the most impressive plant at this time of year is this one behind me, or should I say towering above me. And you probably recognise the foliage of this, looks a bit elder-like. It is dahlias, and this is the tree dahlia. It's a phenomenally large type of dahlia with absolutely huge stems. I can just get my hand around the stem here, and I've got pretty big hands, so I would say the stem on this is probably a good 5 centimeters across, if not more. And height wise, I'm basically 2 meters tall, and there's well over a meter height above me, so this is about 3.5, could be 4 meters tall when it gets to flowering as well. So it's absolutely monumentally massive in terms of having a dahlia, and I'm going to show you and talk to you about how to grow this impressive plant. So if you grow dahlias already, this is pretty much the same in terms of what conditions it needs. It's a tuberous plant. You get the tubers over winter in spring or when it's dormant, and you can plant it in a large sort of 10-15 litre pot in spring with some compost, keep it somewhere warm and it'll start sprouting. Alternatively, you can get those tubers, plant them where you want it to grow to its full size out in probably April, early May time, and it will quickly establish and get to be a large size plant. It needs plenty of water in the growing season and feed as well if you want to get it as big or bigger than this specimen here. I've had this one now for about 5 years, and I do leave it in the ground. A lot of people dig up their dahlias, and if you've only got one of a certain type or species, that may be something you want to do. I've done plenty of videos on overwintering dahlias. I'll do a link in the description below. But I like to keep mine out, and all I do is wait for the frost to blacken the foliage, which this year is looking like it might be in the new year because it's still pretty mild, although it's pretty cold and damp today. And then when the foliage is blackened, it's got a big stem, like I said, this, so I will actually cut this off near the base, give it about 10-15 centimeters of stem, just leaving out of the ground, and then I put over a bit of compost over the base, and then I put like a brick or some stone marker over the top, just so I remember where it is, because over winter into spring, when you're moving other plants and planting out bulbs and things like that, it's easy to forget where this is, and you might dig over with a spade and chop through those tubers, which is something you want to avoid. So it's dead easy to look after. Like I said, plenty of water, plenty of feed, give it a good loamy or clay soil with added manure, and it will just romp away in the summer months. And as I mentioned, I'm filming this video sort of mid to late November now, and the foliage has pretty much been untouched. It's had no frost at all. It's still looking good, but we've yet to have flowers, and we've had an exceptionally hot year, so I was expecting or hoping we'd get flowers on this by now. But I can see at the very top, it looks like flower buds are forming, so we might yet get some flowers as we move into December and the new year if we don't get very cold weather. It's definitely a plant I would seek out and grow. It's not too expensive to buy when you buy it as a tuber, and you can buy it as seeds as well. And like I said, it is extremely large, definitely a showstopper in the garden. People will notice this plant and ask what it is, and you can just reply it's a dahlia. Obviously it's a special type of dahlia. It's dahlia, tree dahlia, Dahlia imperialis. You want to give this plant plenty of space as well to get to its largest size and fulfill its potential. So here, yes, I've got lots of other plants being around it. I've had bananas, I've got the cannas around here, I've had daphonias and ricinus in this area for the big jungle look in this area. But in terms of the space around it at the base, there's no plants within about 20-30 centimeters of the base where I've been able to put lots of manure around there just to give it that nutrition in spring and summer to get to this huge amount of growth. So it's an unfussy plant. It's not been affected by anything. in spring you can get aphid attacks on the foliage, but I find this dahlia, it takes a little bit longer to get going than other dahlias, but once it gets going it really shoots for the sky. So any greenfly and aphids in early spring probably go for the other dahlias rather than this one, because this one's a little bit further behind. But then because of that, it means it's not as affected by aphids or anything else. Slugs and snails have not affected my plant, and because it grows so quickly, it gets out of the way of most slugs and snails pretty quickly. And the actual stem, it's a bit glaucous and it's a little bit bumpy and spiny as well. So it's probably not the best surface for slugs and snails to be crawling up. So it's a good plant, good doer, and it needs somewhere sheltered. So I've got it in the middle of all these other plants for added protection, and I've got some shelter sort of over in the south direction here as well. Obviously if you want flowers, then it's going to be a long hot season you need, and you need plenty of sun to get those flowers to be starting to form. So at this time of year it's hard, obviously we don't get much sun up in Yorkshire in November and December. The days are short, but with a bit of luck we might get some flowers yet. So that's the tree dahlia, Dahlia imperialis, fantastic plant for the exotic garden.